Hello? Your Health is Calling, where holistic health meets practical solutions for your well being. With your host, speaker, New York Times bestselling author, Sue Kostick, a seasoned holistic health practitioner and longevity coach. Join Sue each week to embark on a journey to uncover the root causes of your health concerns. Through a personalized approach, learn how to decode the messages your body is sending and craft natural protocols to address them. Call in live at 888-994-4995 Studio A.
Good morning. Welcome to Hello, Your Health is Calling. I'm Sue Kostick. I am an integrative health practitioner. We dive deep into root cause and figure out why you're having the symptoms or not having the change that you would like. So I have a very full 30 minutes of information for you. So we are going to dive right in. The topic today is transformation versus longevity. And I put in here 2 paths, 1 plate because, transformation, any kind of transformation takes different tools and things versus doing anything for longevity. So while they are both great things to choose, sometimes we go overboard in both areas. So again, because holistic health is all about balance, we're going to dive into this topic and talk about both transformation and longevity separately. And then I'm going to bring it all together and see where there's some similarities and where you can possibly do both. So let's dive in. There's 2 goals. Dieting for physical transformation. It's very aesthetic, and dieting for lifespan or health span. And both require a lot of different things. Some require the same things. But let's get started, and we're going to dive into what it means to diet for transformation. So this is when you're wanting to, body recomposition. Maybe you want some fat loss. Maybe you want muscle gain. It's not necessarily about weight loss. It is all about aesthetics. It's performance driven. Athletes, ultra athletes, major athletes, they all are performance driven. Figure competitions are for aesthetics. And so the main thing, they're all kind of driven around deadlines, right? So for the normal person, where I'm not an athlete, you're not a professional athlete, you're not a bodybuilder, you're just average Joe. And a lot of times this comes along because there's a deadline. You have a wedding to go to. You have a party to go to. There's an event that you want to look good for. And so one of the biggest things is people always have a deadline. Even if you are an athlete or you're getting ready for a figure competition, there's a deadline, right? You have a certain amount of time that you can do this in. So that's why transformation. Some of the features of this transformation journey that people go on, you're manipulating calories. You are tracking macros. I don't know if anybody's done this before, but tracking macros is a discipline. It is, being kind of tied to some kind of a device that you're having to enter in, and you've got to zero out at the end of the day, and it's very disciplined. There may be supplement use. You may be, doing more protein powder. You may be trying to use maybe fat burning supplements or things like that. There's meal timing. It's all about the timing. A lot of compliance, a lot of discipline, and this is these features are pretty much because there is a deadline attached. It's like you have to be very, very focused on what you're doing. Now, there's a lot of pros to this. Some of the pros are you do get those fast results. You Science says if you are in a calorie deficit, then you will quickly lose weight. And then, you know, it also teaches you discipline and tracking. So, one of the nice things about tracking macronutrients is making sure, because as I say over and over again, you never want to eliminate a macro. So, your macronutrients are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. And there's a lot of diets, a lot of transformation diets that eliminate carbohydrates. And so, in the long run, when you are tracking all your macronutrients, you know that you're getting everything that your body needs. And honestly, dieting for transformation, it can be a catalyst for long-term health changes. It really can. There are, of course, with everything, there's risks and there's those cons that come with it. And, typically it's unsustainable. Whenever you are fast tracking something where you have to be very restrictive, it's not sustainable because we are human beings and we do want those guilty pleasures, right? And so that is the one thing. If you are doing some kind of thing for transformation, you just have to know that it is not sustainable for a lifetime. And, it does start to affect your hormones. And what we have found over the course of time is that when you are in a restrictive caloric intake, if you are eliminating a certain macronutrient, this is going to start affecting your hormones, especially women. And, men, it's extremely unfair. I get it. But men can okay, I'm not going to have 10 extra calories and they lose 10 pounds. We have 10 few calories and we gain 10 pounds. So it's not fair, but women really have to watch this area much closer than men do. Now, that's not to say that when men do these, very restrictive diets, that they're not going to come into some kind of hormonal imbalance. That is very true. Their testosterone is going to start to lower because their body's not getting what it needs. And also, your relationship with food will suffer. I put can suffer, but it will suffer because you are so calorie focused and food focused that all of a sudden food becomes the enemy instead of your partner in what you're trying to do. And so that, these cons, there's more risks, but these are really the biggest risks. And actually, dieting for transformation, if it's done too long, this will have long-term metabolic issues. It's called metabolic adaptation. And what this is your body adjusts to, it's like a physiological adjustment. It lowers your metabolism because it fears you are dying, because you're in that caloric restriction. And so long term, it's going to put you in fight or flight to survive. And if you followed me for any period of time, I talk about fight or flight all the time. I talk about oxidative stress because what's happening is, okay, oxidative stress is internal. When we talk about stress, there's external stress and there's internal stress. And what happens is when you go into metabolic adaptation, it starts to change your metabolic rate. Your metabolism lowers. It changes your hormone signals. Like, I said, hormonal imbalances can occur. And it lowers your appetite regulating hormones. So yes, we do have hormones that regulate our appetite. It's ghrelin and leptin. And so what happens is one is for satiation and one is for hunger. And so what happens is when you go into this metabolic adaptation, your body doesn't know how to recognize hunger or how to recognize satiation anymore because these hormones have been turned off. So those are the risks. And like with anything, there's pros and cons. I know I probably stayed a little bit longer on the cons, but that's me. So let's let's go to longevity, okay? Because I am going to come around and give you some positive stuff about this. So longevity, dieting for longevity, it's focusing on lifespan. It's reducing your risk of disease to maintain a quality of life. And the emphasis is not on changing the outward look of your body, but the emphasis is on the inward part of your body. It's on the cellular health, it's on the organ function, lowering inflammation. So, longevity, while you are focusing on longevity, you can also focus on transformation. So I'm going to tell you how we do that more towards the end of this. But so that's where longevity kind of focuses on in it, and the features are different. It's moderate caloric intake. It's not that restrictive. It's eating whole foods where that is the same as transformation. Whole foods are very important when you're trying to live a long life or transform from the outside or on your outward appearance. So eating whole foods, eliminating that junky, ultra processed food. It also focuses on intermittent fasting, because what happens when you give your liver, fasting is all about your liver, by the way. Fasting is all about giving your liver the opportunity to go through both phases of detoxification. So when you intermittent fast, I'm not talking about the 6-hour feeding window where you can eat anything you want. What I'm talking about is giving your body a minimum, at least 12 hours of fasting before you introduce food again. That is really the amount of time that you need. Now, for women, I do not recommend fasting more than 14 hours. It's not good for you. Your hormones will start to become imbalanced. So again, women, we're different. That's just the beauty of us. So some men can do 16-hour fasting, and it doesn't faze them. So, in longevity, it focuses also on the micronutrients. So micronutrients and phytochemicals, those are going to all be like your minerals, your vitamins, the wonderful phytonutrients that you're getting from plants and fruits and stuff, and micronutrients from the good quality pasture-raised beef and chicken and wild-caught fish. So while you're not focusing on macros per se because you're eating whole foods and all of the food groups, you are also focusing a little bit more on the micronutrients and phytochemicals, because these are the things that get into your cells, lengthen the telomeres that create longevity. So it really is, all about lifestyle. It's creating a lifestyle that is sustainable for good health. So what are the pros to, dieting or doing anything for longevity? So it does support long-term and physical health. It also supports cognitive health. So this is a big buzzword. It's all over the internet, talking about brain health, cognitive health, because what's happening is Alzheimer's and dementia is now being called type 3 diabetes, which is about insulin resistance. So when you start to fuel your body inwardly for longevity, you're taking into account your whole body. It's not just making it look good for a season of time. And so, depending on what age you are, a lot of times when you're in your 20s, 30s, even 40s, you're not really thinking about what's going to happen when I get into my 60s, 70s, and 80s. And, my goal is to be a centenarian. Now, God willing, and I keep my body healthy, that might be able to be a thing. But, it's like you start thinking differently as you age. So what you are doing in your 20s and 30s is going to affect you in your 50s and 60s. One example is my husband. He played football his entire life. He played through college. He was a running back. He was the guy who got just taken down all the time. And he is 63. He is now having to get a hip replacement because of his activity in his younger years. Now that is a health thing, but it's not, a disease, but it is an example of we don't really think about what we're doing in our younger years that is going to all of a sudden come out as we age. And this goes along with a lot of physical issues, a lot of um, health issues that we're seeing that we call aging issues. And it's really not an aging issue, it's an issue of a lifestyle that we led when we were younger. And you don't know what you don't know, so there's no shame, there's no guilt. But as you start to learn about these things, I challenge you to start thinking, stop thinking about your beach body and start thinking about your 80-year-old body. And if you are, you know, if you have children and your children want to get married and have children, those would be your grandchildren. Do you want to be healthy and vibrant and vital as your grandchildren are growing up? So those are just some things to think about. And that's why, it might seem like I'm leaning towards longevity diet because I am at that age where I am thinking of my mortality. So, it's less reliant on tracking and extreme measures, which if you are going for a deadline, you need those tracking and extreme measures. And I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying just know that there are risks. And, one of the things that longevity, it promotes brain, gut, cardiovascular health. It's all of the, I'm going to call it inside health, because if you look good on the outside, people think you're the epitome of health, right? But there's some people that are not. They just have those genes and they have the metabolism. But once they get into their older age, things are going to start creeping up. So, what are the risks? The risks for longevity is, and I don't think this is a risk, I think this is a con, because we live in a microwave society. Um, we want, maybe I should call it the Amazon Prime Society. We want everything now. One of the cons is it's slower. It's, when you are making changes for longevity, the changes are internal. And once the internal is healthy, your the external is going to start catching up. But it is slower. The results are invisible at first. However, you are going to feel healthy like within 7 days. It's like you are going to start feeling better, but you're not going to see those results right away. It may not be optimal for body composition. As you age, you do need a higher fat content. Not being, have a high BMI or anything like that, but you do need a higher fat content to protect some things. And it's really harder to sell longevity because we live for now. We live for today. We don't necessarily think about what's going to happen tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, that kind of thing. And, quite honestly, there's a lot of drama on social media right now about transformation. And gosh, my feed is full of GLP-1 ads, of influencers, of people talking about how theirs is the best and theirs is the safest. And, there's so much drama around it. And I feel like it fuels fear in people because they're maybe not feeling so good about themselves. And so this could be that one thing, this could be that thing that's just going to put them over, into that great transformation. And, it would be wise to figure out why you're not feeling good about yourself versus grabbing the next best thing that's coming on the market, that shiny new object. We're all human, we all go for it. So I have a little visual that's going to help compare, the two. So, the goal with transformation is aesthetics and performance. It's fast. It's very precise, lots of control, and the risk could be burnout and metabolic damage if we want to just kind of, boil it all down. And longevity, your goal is health span, aging well, living a long, healthy life. It's slow and steady. the rabbit and the hare. Slow and steady wins the race. And it's simple and it's consistent. So you're not like trying to control in an extreme way. The risk is that it's slow. There's sometimes a lack of physical change right away. And sometimes people just need big wins. And I get that. And, what I coach a lot of my clients through is like detoxing first before you start either a transformation or longevity. Because if your body is detoxed, then, especially if you're on a longevity journey, these results are going to be a little bit quicker. So, how do these overlap? Let's move on to that. We're running out of time. I need to talk faster. So, how do they overlap? Both of them benefit from high quality protein, and I will preach this till I go to my grave that everybody needs high quality protein daily in every meal. That is the only way you are going to build muscle, and it's the only way you're going to keep muscle, and it's the only way you're going to live a long life. So that is very, very important. Staying off of processed foods, ultra processed. So there's a lot of foods that we eat that are processed. You have, 2 or 3 ingredients, and if you know what they are, and it's something like, take sourdough bread for instance, it's flour, yeast, water, salt. So that's considered a processed food. Ultra processed foods have over 5 ingredients. They have chemicals. They have things you can't pronounce. So that's the difference. Stay out of the drive-through. Even if you consider it to be the lesser of all the evils, if you are on a transformation journey, you need to eat at home as much as possible. And I know I don't have time. I don't know how to cook. There's food services. There is ways to eliminate every excuse that you have. But if you are on any journey, eating at home, there's so much sodium in foods, even really good restaurants. It's just a lot of sodium, and you're going to wake up puffy and feeling bad. So hydration, both of them, stress, hydration, sleep, and stress management. You can go back to YouTube, the Reinvented Life Network. I have numerous podcasts on hydration, sleep, and the stress management. So you can pick, and some of them have them all in there. So that's where they overlap. Neither one is bad. It's just you have to be really mindful of, I think, mostly the time allotted to a transformation journey. So, what are the differences? So here's where they overlap. The differences are that, transformation is short term. It's for aesthetics. It's for performance. Longevity is long-term consistency. It's really, I like to call it lifestyle, because what you're doing when you're going through a longevity journey is you're creating a lifestyle that is sustainable. And you want to have something that's sustainable, because otherwise you're going to quit. And when you're in a transformation journey, it's not that you're quitting, it's that it's just for a time frame, and then you're going to move on, hopefully, to a maintenance and a lot more of a longevity journey, and not undo everything that you've done in that short period of time, because you can go from one to the other. And, disease prevention and function of body is really, really important. And we don't necessarily think about it all the time, but when you are on a longevity journey, you are on a disease prevention journey. So what are the trade-offs? Okay, so rapid fat loss is what transformation is about, but it also increases cortisol and oxidative stress, like I said before. You are overeating for muscle increase, and some IGF-1 cancers will start to occur with overeating. And I don't want to say, I don't want this to be misunderstood, because I talked about protein before, but when you overeat only protein and don't combine that with fats and carbohydrates, that's when this IGF-1 issue starts to occur. because there's just too much protein for your body to, break down and put where it needs to put, and, your liver to do all of its work that it needs to do. On the other hand, if you're under eating for longevity, this could cause, sarcopenia. It could cause really lots of frailty if it's mismanaged. So, anytime you are, embarking on one of these journeys, it is really vital that you have someone working alongside you that can coach you through all of this. It's not enough to read a couple articles and go, oh, I'm going to do that. You really need to get in touch with people who know what they're doing, especially if you are in the transformation part, where you are really focusing on the external. Doing longevity, I just received a certification in longevity. And so there's a lot of things that you can do. There's some great things that you can do, even if you are in some kind of dis-ease, and I call it dis-ease because if your body is unbalanced, shoot me an email, support@helloyourhealthiscalling.com. And, we could talk through some things, but they can definitely coexist. You can, like I said, you can do this transformation and then phase it into longevity. You know, that is really, if you are in the aesthetic focus of just transforming your body, like I said, you don't want to go off the rails when you finish up. You want to go into a longevity maintenance. Now, people, athletes do this all the time. They work out and train madly in preseason, right? And then during season, they probably are still doing the same thing. But then when they're out of season, it's fair game. So if they are smart athletes, they don't go off the rails. They follow more of a longevity-based maintenance so that when preseason comes around, they are not behind the eight ball. They're not like, oh my gosh, I've got to struggle and, get back in shape. So they can definitely coexist. And if you are just interested in a longevity journey, then that's sustainable. You can sustain that for the rest of your life. And I talk about the de-stress protocol. You can go back again and watch those. I did a whole series on that. And that's really a good place to start your longevity journey. It's a great place to start any journey, actually, because it's going to get your body set up to be able to do either or. So, I have 2 minutes. I think I did pretty good. So my final thoughts here. The diet that gets you the six-pack is not going to be the diet that gets you to 90, and vice versa. The diet that gets you to 90 is not going to get you the six-pack. Now, some people have the genetics, okay? I do not. Some people have those genetics that they can just really have a great lifestyle, and they've got the six-pack, they've got the biceps, they've got the quads, but for the most part, average Joe, one is not going to get you to the other. You need to choose your goal clearly. If you think that you want to transform, let's just say you want to lose 40 pounds. Transformation is not going to be a good choice for you, because losing 40 pounds that is sustainable and maintainable is not a quick thing. So you need to kind of understand what your goal is and not get caught up in the drama of an influencer that says you can look like me. You've got influencers that are showing you how to food prep, and they're wearing, a workout bra top and, shorts. And they're really advertising, even though they're just talking about food prep, they're advertising that you can look like them. And again, genetics sometimes hurt us because not everybody has the genetics that influencer has. So you need to be very clear about your goal. Let the diet or the exercise be the tool, not your prison. Because if you make it your prison, it's going to become your enemy. And you don't want that to happen. You want diet, exercise, all this lifestyle stuff to be a tool because your body is made to do wonderful things. You know, you've seen people lose 100 pounds, and you've seen people in their 60s and 70s start to weightlift, and they become these incredibly strong people. That is not by doing anything drastic. It's by changing a lifestyle, it's changing a thought, it's understanding what your goal is. So this has been a lot. I hope you got a lot out of this. Please go to YouTube, the Reinvented Life Network, Hello, Your Health is Calling, subscribe, like. Don't miss any of these. There's a lot of content that I pull out every week. And your health is not a hobby. Plain and simple. We named the show Hello, Your Health is Calling because so many of us, our health is calling and we're ignoring the calling. So if your health is calling, please answer. Get in touch with me. Support at helloyourhealthiscalling.com. And have a wonderful day. I will see you back next week.
Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Hello, Your Health is Calling with Sue Kostick. Remember, your health journey is ongoing, and we're here to support you every step of the way. If you have any questions, insights, or stories to share, don't hesitate to reach out. You can connect with us on social media or call in live at 888-994-4995 Studio A. Together, we're transforming lives and embracing holistic well-being. Until next time, prioritize your health and remember, your health is calling.